Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about some products for the decontamination process. Specifically, I got some koch-chemie Multi-Star N, koch-chemie Green Star, and CarPro Descale. So how to do a decontamination wash. Wanted to try out a couple of new products, new to me, not new to the market. So I'm gonna give these a whirl. I did originally try to film, I was gonna try to film this when actually washing the car and like kind of, talk through it, but I was racing for time. I didn't have a whole lot of daylight to work with here, so ended up filming it anyway. Figured I would just, talk through it here. We'll do a little bit of narration, but I'm gonna go through each of the products, how they were used, dilution ratios, and overall thoughts and stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. We'll start with the Multi-Star N. Actually, no, before we start, let's real quick, anybody who's coming across this video who is not very familiar with the decontamination process, what is that? So in detailing, typically your decontamination is when, think of it like a deep cleaning for your car, right? And so it is the decontamination wash is like the first step before you maybe apply like a sealant and a wax or a ceramic coating or anything that's any kind of coating for your car. This is usually the first step. And so that involves using some kind of a soap with a higher pH to get any kind of like really ingrained dirt and stuff like that off the paint. And then you continue on with the next steps. And usually that is like some kind of an iron remover, a clay bar, synthetic or real, and then you get into your, polishes and wax and sealants and all that other kind of stuff. But today I just really want to focus on the actual decontamination wash process, the wash part of that, which is just for using these products here, right? So again, anyway, right into it with Multi-Star N. Now, this one, I actually use this for both wheels and paint. I don't usually do a pre-foam on my wheels for a decontamination wash. Typically, whether it's a decontamination or maintenance wash, I usually just use P&S Brake Buster to foam the wheels and then, whatever tools I use for wheels. However, my wheels were extremely dirty, and I thought with a product like Multi-Star N, which has dilution ratios for both wheels and the paint, I figured why not give it a try? Why not, pre-foam the wheels and see how that goes? So off to the races with that. The Multi-Star N, this one you can do the suggested dilution ratio for Multi-Star N on wheels is anywhere between 1:3 and 1:10. I did it somewhere kind of on the little lower end of that. I did a 1:5 ratio, which I only filled up my foamer bottle about halfway because I was just doing wheels. So I have the foamer bottles are 1,000 milliliters, so I just did 500 milliliters total, which worked out to, I'm kind of going off the top of my head from memory here. If I'm wrong, I'll overlay the corrected text, but I think for a 1:5 ratio with the Multi-Star N, that worked out to be about 85 milliliters of product, and then the rest up to 500 milliliters of water, which gave roughly a 1:5 ratio. So did a pre-foam on that, and as it says with the instructions on this, being that this is at the higher end of their pH levels, which is a pH of 13.1, it has a shorter dwell time than you would normally have with something with a lower pH. So only 1 to 2 minutes needed. So for the wheel foaming process, just, hit them up real good with the foam, and by the time I got back down around to the first wheel after doing all 4, it was about that time to rinse off. So it really wasn't long that they were on there. Just going right into the result, I'm telling you, I've never seen anything work so good. I don't even know if I would have had to have done a contact wash after that. It was that good. Like, it just obliterated all of the collection of the dried up brake dust and grime and all that kind of stuff that was at the bottom of that groove I was talking about. And then of course, all the intricacies of the design of the wheel, it worked really. I still did the contact wash anyway with the P&S Brake Buster and the tools. But nonetheless, this as a wheel cleaner was fantastic, right? So that's your wheel cleaning, good to go. So next up, the pre-foam stage using Multi-Star N. Now, again, if you're kind of new to this, why would you bother to do a pre-foam? So if you are cleaning a very dirty car, right, what you don't want to do is just spray it off with water. Water is not a lubricant. And so the idea with a pre-foam is that you get something that you can spray the car. You just go right to the foaming process, completely cover the car. It encapsulates all that dirt. And then when you do go and rinse it off and you get the majority of that dirt off, I don't know what the actual ratio is, but let's say it's most of it, 80, 90% of that dirt. When you go to rinse it off, it just glides right off the car and you save your paint and your clear coat from introducing any new scratches, right? However, for a pre-foam, you need something with a bit of cleaning power because something like a pH neutral soap like, Gentle Snow Foam, which I love, but a pH neutral soap isn't really going to do anything to break up all that dirt. So here's where you need something with extra cleaning power, something with a higher pH. And so again, when it comes to koch-chemie's line of stuff, and there are lots of options out there for a decontamination soap as a prefoamer, this is kind of up there again at that 13.1 pH, right? So anyway, the ratio, the dilution ratio for this, if you're going to use it as a prefoamer, is much higher, right? So you got, the recommendation from koch-chemie is anywhere between 1:30 and 1:50. I kind of played it a little bit in the middle. I did a 1:40, and I did a full foamer bottle of that. So I want to say it was 25 milliliters, and then the rest 975 milliliters of water. So very diluted to be effective, right? So I did the pre-foam on this, and again, because it is so strong, it doesn't need a long dwell time. Typically, if I was using the Obsessed Garage Decon soap or the CarPro Lift, I'd give it about 5 minutes to rest, but for this, again, only 1 to 2 minutes. So I let it sit for about that time and then did the rinse. Now, my initial impression of how it did, I don't really feel like it did any better than anything else that I've ever used, right? So which, again, the Obsessed Garage stuff or CarPro Lift, but it seemed to me to be about as effective. Here was the one drawback though, and it's so funny because like as I was doing this, so usually when I'm foaming up the car, I always open the fuel door, get in there and everything. However, my fuel cap, about 2 years ago, I got a set of the, the Golden Wrench Supply caps. You got the 4 engine bay caps and then your fuel cap. I don't even know why I did the fuel cap. You never see it anyway, but I don't know, call it for completeness. In any case, as I was pre-foaming the car with the multi-star end, I opened up the door, and just as I did that and was getting ready to foam it, I kind of had the thought, should I apply this to this? Because it's a painted cap. Now, granted, it's spray painted with high temperature, paint, and it has 2 coats of the 2K clear coat. Nonetheless, I had the thought that maybe I shouldn't do that as I was already doing it a little bit too late. And sure enough, when I went to go do the rinse, I saw that it had already started to eat through the paint on my cap. Not only that, but since I filmed this about a week and a half ago, I subsequently went on a road trip, came back, washed the car again, and this time did an engine bay cleaning and found that the cap from my windshield washer fluid has also now started to deteriorate a little bit because the cap for the windshield washer fluid is right on the edge of the hood, right? So presumably when, foaming the entire car, a little bit might have gotten in there, and I can see that starting to come off too. So I don't know, it's been about 2 years, so I'm either gonna just, clear them all off and either do them again, do another color, leave them as is, although it's kind of a boring, non-polished metal, or maybe I'll just fix those too. But anyway, all that to say that be careful with this stuff, because if you have anything that is delicate, it could chew right through that. And again, I have washed this car, I don't know how many times, weekly, at most every other week, since I've had those caps on. You figure that's over 2 years ago. And I've never had a product even a little bit kind of damage that paint, and this stuff went right through it, even diluted 1:40. So worth noting that stuff is a bit hardcore. Now again, back to how it actually performed, I don't really find that it did any better or worse of a job than anything else I've ever used. It definitely did well. I mean, it got a lot of the surface stuff off, and because the car had been on a couple of road trips, you had road tar and rubber and stuff like that in certain places where, a typical wash isn't gonna get that off. And sometimes I'm reaching for Tarex in order to get that stuff off. So again, it got most of the surface dirt off, and then the heavier things it kind of left behind, but presumably it breaks it down a little bit, which you're gonna get to on your contact wash. So that was kind of my impression for Multi-Star N as a pre-foamer, is that it did a good job, but you definitely want to be careful with this stuff. Okay, so now moving on to the Green Star. Now, this product, I have been using this for a little while for interior cleanings. I love it. I dilute it 1:7 in a foamer bottle, and I think it works fantastic. It has a nice clean smell. It does a great job on your interior. But did you know that if you combine this with koch-chemie's Gentle Snow Foam, that you're essentially making active foam? So in the world of koch-chemie shampoos, like I mentioned, there's a couple of different ones, Gentle Snow Foam being their pH neutral one. Then the next step up, you've got active foam, which I think that has a pH of 9.5. And then you have super foam, and so on and so forth. But anyway, if you have gentle snow foam, you can just mix in a little bit of Green Star and essentially make active foam. It is the same thing. So what I wanted to try is following up the prefoam with something, again, the car was super dirty, so I wanted to follow it up with something that had just a little bit of extra cleaning power. And again, on a decon wash, I normally would just go right to, after the prefoam, I would normally just go right to the gentle snow foam. But I wanted something with just a little extra cleaning power, so I figured why not try, since I have it, why not try to incorporate the Green Star and make some active foam. So the ratio for that, normally I would put about 150 milliliters of gentle snow foam in a 1,000 milliliter bottle and call that a day. Great foaming power, by the way. However, so for this, I actually dialed back the GSF to about I think it was like 110, 120, and then I put in like about 10, 15 milliliters of the Green Star. And so I think that is roughly the formula to make active foam, but I don't know, you might want to, you could tamper with that, and I'm sure there's, some other variations, or you can add a little bit more Green Star to make a slightly more powerful active foam, whatever it is, but that's kind of like generally a good starting point. So that was the idea, to do the follow-up foam for the contact wash on that. Now, this kind of works hand in hand in the incorporation with Descale. So Descale is CarPro's, what does it say? Powerful and versatile acidic car shampoo for hard water and tough dirt. So the idea behind Descale is that if you have a coating on your car, right, and if you live in an area with hard water, maybe you get mineral deposits, this stuff is supposed to break up the mineral deposits that have dried up on your coating. Now, you can also use this on non-coated cars. They mentioned that as well. But the idea is that, like, again, if you've got a ceramic coated car and, you're supposed to, when you hit it with water, you see all that great sheeting. But if you've got like a dead spot there, you might have some dried up mineral deposits. And so this works to loosen that up without terribly disturbing the coating. Now, you don't want to use this stuff a lot. So this will, over time, break up coatings, waxes especially, and everything like that. But as an every once in a while thing, especially if you've got those mineral deposits, this is good to use. And so what I wanted to do was, I live, again, in an area with hard water and all that other kind of stuff, and it had been some time since the car had been washed. So this stuff you can put right in your soap bucket, so that when you're doing your contact wash, this stuff is already mixed in. You can also mix this in your wheels bucket too. I don't use water in my wheels bucket. I usually just, again, foam with the P&S brake buster, and then just use the tools. I'll spray them off, before and after use. And that's kind of how you get, that little bit of, mixing the water for making everything, foamy and everything like that. But Descale, if you do use water in your wheels bucket, you can put a little bit of this in too, if you have mineral deposits on your wheels. So the ratio for this was 1 to 100 in a 5-gallon bucket. So that worked out to just about, I think it was like right around 6 ounces. And then fill the rest of the bucket the rest of the way up for the 5 gallons. And that gives you a 1 to 100 dilution ratio, which, 6 ounces is a lot, but this is a 1 liter bottle, I think. And we're up to here. There's still plenty left, right? So that was the formulation for this, was the Gentle Snow Foam and the Green Star for the second foam application for the contact wash. And then I squirt a little bit of Gentle Snow Foam in the actual rinse bucket. And then this time mixed in a 1/100 dilution ratio for the Descale. And so for the contact wash, there was nothing left after that. I actually feel like that did a really good job. Now, was that because the one problem with doing this as a sort of review of sorts is that I didn't have any definitive example of a hard water spot or mineral deposit that I could say, look how great the Descale did, because here was the before and here was the after. So I didn't really have that. But what I will say is that all this combination of product, the dirt that was left over that was not completely rinsed off by the Multi-Star N, was completely gone after doing, the foaming with what's essentially active foam, and then the GSF and the Descale in the wash bucket. And here's how I think that, at least a way to tell that I think the Descale did a really good job of working, is that after the contact wash and when I was spraying everything off, how if you do have slightly neglected paint, like maybe you're doing a maintenance wash and you're rinsing everything off, and you kind of see that there's a little dead spot there where the water is interacting with something. It's not smooth. Now, I have no coating on my car. The last time I waxed it, that has long since been removed. So the water doesn't sheet off beautifully like on a coated car, but at the very least you could tell that the water was not being repelled by anything, meaning there didn't really seem to be anything left on the surface of the car that might cause any kind of disturbance in the flow of the water as it was hitting it. I hope that's making sense, but that's kind of the at least somewhat metric I was using to tell, how well that did, because if you have those deposits, even after a contact wash, they might still be around if whatever you used was not strong enough or effective enough to remove them. So I think that the combination of loosening everything up with the multi-star N and then having what was essentially active foam as my second, foam stage, and then mixing some of this in the bucket, dude, all of that I thought did a fantastic job of getting this car all set up. Now I didn't actually go through the process of, I think I mentioned this, but normally in a decontamination wash, you're going to follow that up with an iron remover, Optimum Ferrex, Iron X, Iron Buster, whatever you use, and then clay bar and everything else. Didn't do all that just because I knew I was taking the car right back on the road and I was going to have to do it all again when I came home. But it needed a reset. It definitely needed a reset. And as a combination of these products, man, I mean, they were insanely effective. But here's what I would say overall for everything. One, again, never saw anything rip through wheel grime. And you know how stubborn wheel grime can be. Never seen anything rip through that as effectively as 1:5 diluted multi-star N. Now, this is a product that I might want to mess around with a little bit more to sort of try out maybe some other dilution ratios, because again, the stuff is kind of scary, as noted with the cats, but insanely great for that. I don't know that I would use that on the regular. I probably would only use this in the most extreme cases with an extraordinarily dirty car. I think I would try maybe something like a super foam, which again, koch-chemie is one of their higher pH shampoos, but not quite as crazy as multi-star N. The Green Star, I've talked about this a couple of times before, but just again, to reiterate, I absolutely love this stuff. This is my go-to interior cleaner. And now finally using this stuff with mixing it in with GSF to get some active foam, I thought it worked really well. I did use this, I did wash the car again after my road trip after having filmed this. And I tried this again, just to see what it would be like as a pre-foam. And again, I had some tar spots, some rubber and all that other kind of stuff. It was not as effective as using the multi-star N, right? So after using this as a pre-foam and then just, hitting it with some regular GSF for a contact wash, I still needed to follow up with some Tar-X in a couple of spots to get some really stubborn rubber off, which that stuff tears through anything. But again, you want to use that stuff sparingly. Nonetheless, I think that if you have a car that's not necessarily full decontamination worthy, but maybe it's slightly dirtier than an intermittent maintenance wash, like maybe if it's been longer than a week or two or something like that, and you just got a little extra dirt, but you don't need to do a full decon, I think mixing in some Green Star with GSF will work absolutely fine. The Descale, again, this is another thing where I wish I had a definitive thing to point to show like a before and after, like here's how great it worked, here's what it looked like before and after, but couldn't really get that with this. However, again, this is another one that I would use this very sparingly. I wash my car enough to where, dried hard water spots with mineral deposits is not really a big deal, not really a problem for me too much. However, when I get around to doing a ceramic coating or even like a waxing, next time I do a wax, I do those, fairly frequently. I still haven't done a ceramic coating yet. But when I do that, I might be more inclined to notice when I do have an obvious, mineral deposit or something like that, and maybe this gets included a little bit more. But as I said before, and as said from CarPro, this isn't something that you want to use regularly because over time it will diminish your coating. So just keep that in mind. So as a trio, like overall, right, I think these products were really effective. Like super effective. So I'm going to leave links to all of these in the description below if you want to check them out. And if you scroll down a little bit further in the description, there are some more products, some more detailing products that I tend to use regularly, as well as a couple of detailing tools that might be worth checking out. But at the very least, check these out, give them a try if you are looking for something to try out with the decon process. Also, let me know, leave comments below. Let me know, what do you use? How do you like them? Are they effective? So on and so forth. I always love hearing what other people are using in their setup. But as for these, man, good stuff. I don't remember the pricing of all of these, so I don't really have much feedback in terms of like a price per ounce and all that kind of stuff. But I do remember the Multi-Star N was actually pretty cheap given what you get for a whole 5-gallon. I think so. I could be wrong about that. In any case, again, wildly effective stuff. I think my favorite in the mix is Green Star just because of its usability with so many other things. I mean, at the end of the day, Green Star is really just an all-purpose cleaner, right? So, I mean, diluted to the right ratio, you can use this in your engine bay. Like I said, I use it routinely in my interior and now incorporated with GSF for an active foam. So yeah, man, just awesome product. But again, overall, I think all of these are going to do pretty well in the decon process. So again, comment below, let me know where you're using, let me know what you think about these if you have tried them, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.